Good morning everyone and welcome back to Monday's episode of Bareham Engines. Hope you've had a great weekend. I have, nice and relaxing, had a little go in the Lambo. If you'd watched our second channel, Bareham Engines Stories, you'll see me having a little drash about, doing a twit lap as I call it. But yeah, back to work this morning. John's off all week today. He's off all week this week. Just Isaac and I. Hopefully I'm going to have Paul in for one day this week because Isaac is going on holiday for Friday, so I'll be on my own. But first job of today, guys. Like I said on the last video, sorry if you don't like the Cosworth stuff or you're getting a bit fed up with it. Like a lot of people have said in the comments, that's what you do. You specialise in the Cosies, so quite a lot of people enjoy it. So here we go, guys. I'm back on this Cosworth here. And my job for today is to fit the oil jets. So these are the BMW oil jets. You've seen me do the machining for these over on the milling machine over in the corner there. So these are a standard from BMW oil jet. What engine they are out of, I'm going to be completely honest, I do not know. But the reason we use these is because they're just a standard sort of banjo bolt, no dowel, putting the oil jets to the block, which means you can point them in whichever direction you want, which is ideal. The only downside to these oil jets is you can see by the nozzle compared to the base of the body, they sit fairly close to the block. The cutouts in the pistons, which are standard, you have to do them a bit deeper to make the clearance. So I've got one here. So you see this little notch here, that comes as standard on the same side of every piston, and the reason for that is because these pistons are used in the later Escort Cosworth, the small turbo model, which come with standard oil jets machined into the block, but obviously they sit a little bit more proud than these BMW ones do, so you've got a shallow groove there. Now you're probably wondering why I've done a deeper groove on the opposite side, and the reason for that is, guys, is because as you can see, these two are where the standard ones would be, and obviously the ones from Ford would be over there and over there, but I do two on one side and two on the other. Okay, and the reason for that is because we get the same sort of height on each one, so we know that they don't vary in height basically. But the only trouble is with that is on these two you have to make them a bit deeper just to make sure you've got that clearance where the angle I'm going to be pointing them. So one, you want them to miss these webs, obviously, which they do because these ones sit fairly low, and you want them to miss the com rod. Okay, so these two here I've basically machined deeper, and what I do is inside here where you've got this step, I machine them just slightly below that step, and then I know that we've got probably a couple of millimeters, about 1.5 mm clearance between the bottom of that cutout and the top. With these two, so on 3 and 4, I have to put the cutout the other side. So you can see there the difference in height. And what I'm going to do is on the other two, I just put a little, where I've made the standard cutout deeper, I just put a notch the other side just to make sure that the weight's the same. Although, to be honest, that cutout in aluminium there, no weight whatsoever, to be honest. But, so yeah, you can see I've done this one, guys, and if I turn the block around, a lot of you suggested getting Isaac to do some video and why I do these. It makes it a bit easier for me. So you can see down there, look, when I've got this piston at the bottom dead centre, you can see there, it's right in the centre of that cutout. If I can get me focus right. And there's about 1.5 mm or so below that to account for any rock or anything like that, any sort of stretch. Obviously when these things are wanging over at 7 grand, 7.5 grand, and you want to make sure you got the clearance there. So they obviously clear this web of the crank, they clear the cutout, and I am happy in that. And when you turn it over, you can see that it clears the con rod. So yeah, I'm more than happy with that. Same on this one, guys. So I've just finished this one. We're going to pop it in the hole, do a couple of turns and make sure it's make sure everything clears. But what I normally do is on these banjo bolts just put a very tiny little bit of thread lock just to hold them in, and yeah, job's a good one. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is show you how I fit the oil pump. So this is the LandRover Series 1 Petrol for Devonford before, the one we've had back off Craddock's. We've got our bearings, like I said in a previous video, we've got the new bearings now with the new material, so fingers crossed there's going to be no issues with these. Isaac has changed the bearings, he's took the rocker shaft out and managed to swindle it, so all the bearings sort of go in. We can do that with the head on, so we haven't had to take any of that off. The only thing he's doing now, he's got to retime the engine. So basically what he's doing, he's put a DTI gauge on there, and when this valve is at its peak, fully closed, or fully open should I say, there is a mark round here on the flywheel in there that lines up. And Isaac did state he's just done it now, but it's very, very slightly out. So we might have to go another tooth on the cam pulley, but I'm going to help him with that just after me break. But yeah, hopefully guys, by the end of today, we could have this one all done, and then give Devonford before a ring and get them to pick this up. Absolutely ideal. Right, so I'm just about to build up this pump for the Cosworth. So this is you see it's got the aftermarket pump top on it, but it's basically just a Pinto pump. It's a two-wheel drive one, and the reason we know that is because you see the centre hole here is offset this way to the two bolt holes. Now the gasket, you've got to make sure you get the two-wheel drive gasket. The four-wheel drive, this hole here is in line with those bolt holes, and obviously one on the two-wheel drive, you've got to make sure you get that gasket the right way round. It does actually look, if you were just sliding this gasket in there, which we've seen many times before, it does look like that gasket should go the other way around, because you've got a bit sticking out the back here and a sort of none here. But if you do get it the wrong way round, it's going to cover half that hole up, and we have seen it before where it's starved the crank of oil because of that. So just need to make sure you get that right. Now when they supply this pump, they take the original release spring out and valve, and they supply you with a new one. So the only differences with a high pressure is we've got a stiffer spring here, we've got a core plug that goes in the back obviously to hold it in, and then you've got the relief plunger here. So basically what we do is oil that up, bit of oil on there, make sure it's nice and lubed up. It goes in with that nozzle first, and you make sure that bottoms out and slides up and down nicely, which we have done anyway. Don't want to make sure there's no flashing in there that holds it open or shut. Then we pop the spring in, and then we fit this core plug. That way we just tap it so it's just below the surface, and then we're going to bolt this two-wheel drive Cosworth oil strainer on. Now you can see I've said to you before that this oil spray bar jet we no longer use. Bit of a vague Heath Robinson setup really. So all I'm going to do, rather than cut it all off, because these are quite expensive now, I'm just going to bend that out the way, so as soon as the pump goes on, like so, you see it clears the top, whereas originally that spray bar jet there would go into the two-wheel drive top of this, which has got an outlet for the spray bar jet. So that's all we're going to do, just bend it out the way, and then if we ever want to use this again for a two-wheel drive, we just bend it back and you can use it again. Right, so Isaac's just timing up the LandRover, and basically what you have to do, going by the manual here, so you've got this pulley here which drives the camshaft, and obviously you've got the pulley down here on the crankshaft, and then you've got the tensioner here which is spring loaded. So basically what you do when you put a new chain on, you can't, even if you mark the pulley there which is keyed on, you can't assume that the new chain is going to be the same as the old one. Obviously the old one's stretch, etc. So what they do is underneath this washer here you've got 3 keyways in the pulley, and they're all slightly offset, and depending on how much slack you've got. So what you do is you've got the exhaust valves down the bottom, inlets on the cylinder head, exhaust sort of side valve, and what you do is you get the number 1 exhaust valve on full lift, so you put a DTI on there, and then the crankshaft, there's a mark down here on the flywheel, you see that line just about there, going by that pointer there, so you get that in line. Then what you do is you put the chain on, over the pulley without the tensioner on it. There is a split link on this chain, which is ideal. And if it's got a little bit of slack in it, you take this pulley off, turn it round onto the next keyway, because the keyways are offset as such, so you've got basically each keyway goes a little bit further over on the link. So you put it on the next keyway. If you've got more slack, go over to the third one, and that should be right. One of them is going to be right or near enough. If it's not, then you just do the one that gives you the least slack, basically. We've done that. It is actually absolutely bang on. Isac's turned it over twice, got the number 1 exhaust valve on full lift again, and as you can see, it's bang on the line there. So that is great news. All he does then is just let this tensioner go under this big spring, put the split link back on, and away you go. So we just put the cover on that, and this thing's nearly done. So that's it for another video, unfortunately, guys. So we've got the Cosy bottom end all pretty much together now. Just got to get that sump cleaned and on. I think there's a little bit of welding to be done on the sump somewhere. I think one bit's a little bit questionable, so we'll whip that up to Tom maybe tomorrow. The LandRover, Isac's done it all. Top man, got it all timed up. So I've rang Devonford before, given them the good news, and hopefully they're going to be picking that up tomorrow. So next thing for me, guys, until the cylinder head is done on that one, got to get this one all prepped for Paul. It pulls in Friday. If I don't manage to finish it, he shall certainly carry on with it if I get to it at all. So all I've got to do is put my pockets in the pistons, which I'll probably do tomorrow. Paul's going to have to size and balance these rods, etc., clean a few bits up, and I shall get him to clean the block. And this is just a short motor, so hopefully we can get that one done. But yeah, so until Wednesday's video, guys, I'm going to leave this one a little bit shorter. No real dramas today, all nice and chilled. As I say, John's off this week, so yeah, hope you have a great evening, guys. I'm going to get home now and bath me kids. You take it easy. Cheers, guys.